record to iCloud because Ari asked me, and if I don't do, probably she will kill me. You see, I told you I'm old. You need to remember because I totally forgot.
It's funny how your weight is some people, but
I almost forgot the meeting. Imagine me. Okay, let me see Jerry. Hello, Jerry.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
No,
it's
okay. It's perfect. How you been? Where are you?
Hi, Toby.
Can you turn on your camera?
Yeah, we've been snowed in for the last week.
Okay, Jerry, can you turn on your camera because we can't see you?
You should have my avatar. I don't normally do video.
But
if you really have to have it, I'll put it on. But one great thing about Zoom, you don't have to dress up.
Okay, so thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure. And thank you for giving your time to our fencers, our kids in our club. This is a pleasure. So we know the referee's life is not so easy and really complicated during the competition. It depends how many weapons you drive. You pass 2, 3, 4, 5 full days inside the venue, and this is really tough. Before we start pass for the kids, what do you think in your mind is most important to be a good referee?
A good referee is consistent. Even if he or she makes the wrong call, they make that wrong call every time.
For sure.
But that tells the coach or the athlete, oh, they're going to see this when I do that. That's what they're going to call. So instead of fighting it, a good referee, they'll make the same call every time. But that gives us a chance to make the change. As a matter of fact, in giving my students lessons, I will be working on something like they're doing a beat attack or whatever. And then all of a sudden I'll say to them, okay, the referee just said that was a pair riposte. What are you going to do? So the thing of it is, they got to think about now, okay, if I make blade engagement, he's going to call it a pair riposte. So maybe I should not make a beat attack. I should do a feint disengage or whatever. So a bad referee is one is you never know what they're going to call. And so therefore there's no way to make an adjustment. You can't adjust as a coach or as an athlete.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sometimes it's complicated yet. And I always today I have just one foil fence with me is Allison. She's great, top 5 in the seniors and the masters. And all the rest is épée. It's a little less complicated, but some things only happen in épée. Some special things only happen in épée. And because you are sleeping, another thing, another thing, and boom, happens some tragic things in épée. In épée is this way. Foil, we need drive the combat. And I always spoke with my former foil and saber fencers. You need fence like the referee. No, if you are doing beat attack and the referee is giving parry post, don't do more. Oh, you lost the combat. No, you need to read the referee and the fence with the referee too. So
yeah, and especially in saber, probably, but also in foil, if you've been around for a while and you've been refereed by national level referees, you've been to a lot of national competitions, you start realizing that every referee is a little bit different. Some referees, they like the hand. They call the hand movement, right? If they see the hand, any kind of extension or whatever else, they're going to say that's the attack. Other referees call footwork. And so after a while, as a coach and as an athlete, you start realizing it going, okay, who's my referee? Oh, okay. He calls the hand more than the feet. And so I have to make sure that, I'm showing that extension or whatever it is. So I think that's that happens because all referees end up with a reputation for making higher level referees have a reputation for this is how he calls it or this is how she calls it. And so you have to make that adaptation, which makes for interesting lessons sometimes because you may give okay, here's the move I want you to do, but sometimes you have to do it this way so the referee can see it.
Yeah. So, and you think sometimes this kind of confusion or interpretation, or I don't know the name, you can do that. You believe maybe it's because we can put this in the box. Let's tell this way. It's an incomplete coach formation. So the coach passed the wrong call for the student. So for you is a clear penalty post, but he learned this attack of fair. So sometimes this kind of confusions happen in the competitions. Happen too because have one bad athlete formation, bad coach formations. This helped a lot to put unnecessary discussions in the combat.
Yeah, the one of the things about fencing, as opposed to sometimes other sports, is that you've got to make very quick decisions and change of decisions, if you will. So I may have a decision, I'm going to go into this bout with this and so on and so on, and all of a sudden you find out that doesn't work. The athlete has to realize and be trained to change their decision. I have to do something else. So how do I take advantage of the situation? How do I take advantage of my opponent's propensities? And how do I take advantage of a referee, the way they're making calls? So I think especially as I said, with my students, I would constantly say, make the change. They're doing the right thing. Then I'll say this to my upper level students. Then I'll say, okay, the referee's calling it this way. What are you going to do? And let them figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. So we have our, let's start for her because for sure we have much more problems in the foil. And so I pass to you, Alison, to you do some questions you need to our guests, and maybe you'll get more idea what they have to speak.
Yeah. Thank you, Katie.
Hi, Jerry.
On the floor.
Hi, Dennis Allison. And I have to say, yeah, I totally agree with you about, fencing the ref as well. I know I love me some saber refs because then my hand is going out first for every action. But I've got a question about the recent, I guess, over the past, 5 years or so, that awarding right of way to a fencer that's going forward with their footwork, but their points in the air, or they're doing absence of blade, and then both fencers finish, and the fencer going forward gets the touch. It's very confusing for fencers. I think a lot of referees, maybe just want to see the motion forward, where the foilist is pulling back and then finishing at the end. What's going on in the referee corral as far as calling these things now?
Okay, there's a pendulum, especially with saber, but also it happened in foil when they started working, trying to get rid of the flick. But things change in athletes and coaches, especially in saber. They try different stuff. I've got a new move that I'm teaching my saber fencers of how to parry. Well, actually, it's an opposition attack, if you will, which also stops a simultaneous. And that's going to be coming down the pike because I see it internationally. But there's a pendulum. And like I said, sometimes the pendulum back in the past was footwork, forward motion. That's what's caused right away. You could have your saber behind your back. But if you were going forward, that was yours. Then the pendulum swung into blade work. Whose arm's extending first, right? And so it does change. Where it changes at is not so much in USA fencing. It changes internationally. I don't know what triggers the change. I do sometimes because certain influential people, coaches, members, they want it to be called this way now. They think this should be the way it's being done. And so when that happens, international referees start changing, and then that trickles down to national referees. And so it doesn't happen overnight, thank goodness, because sometimes it gives athletes a chance. But those who have more international experience they have to make that change almost right away if they're going to get assignments internationally. But you're right, it does happen, and it's unfair, but it's That's what it does. And now you have to fence in absence of blade anymore in foil and saber because of the style that's going on right now. But think about this: a coupe is a simple attack, right?
Yes.
There is a point in a coupe that your tip's nowhere near a target. It's up in the air. You go there, you lift the tip up, and you bring it back down, and you go. All right. But that's considered a simple attack. And so there's these discrepancies in the rules sometimes that you just have to make adjustments for. One of the things you can do is to try to, and this is an advantage that we have in modern day, is that try to watch. Of course, there's been none recently. We don't know what's going to happen when we get back to it again. But you can watch videos of recent bouts from a referee standpoint. What is this referee calling? And if you're at a World Cup or a Grand Prix or whatever, trust me, those referees have made any adjustment that's going to be made. They make it immediately. They have to. Or as I said, they don't get assignments. So that's the best way to kind of look what's coming down the track, because it starts there first and then it filters down to the different countries.
Yeah, for sure. Different styles, different ways. Sometimes it's complicated and hard to referees realize, and even to the fencers know what I'm doing is correct. It's considered attacks, not why my tip is in the air, but it's attack because I moved first. It's a little complicated for the coach to sometimes adapt it for the new rules or the new way how the referees are judging the actions. This is complicated. So
yeah, another thing you can do is to, when we again go back to competition again, is talk to some of our international referees and ask them, because they'll be more than happy to tell you, because they get just as frustrated. I mean, when they change the rules, it's a big frustration because we know it frustrates the athletes. The coaches may not know it yet, and people are experiencing this maybe for the first time, this new way of looking at it, if you will. So talk to some of the international referees and ask them what's coming down the pike. What has changed? What are they calling now? Are they calling leg or are they calling blade or foot or a hand? I'm sorry. So ask them, and they'll be more than happy to tell you. And they'll tell you, well, they're starting to move toward this. Well, as a coach, then I can go back to my students and start making the changes, helping them make those changes that are coming down the road.
Yeah, it's complicated. And another thing is, so as a referee, what a kind of let's put it this way, what a kind of fencers really upset you, and some kinds of the complaints. What you as a referee, or what the most part of the referees like or don't like about a fencer behavior in foil, in épée, whatever.
Okay, I have a problem when an athlete is out of control. I expect energy and excitement, and and if they look and go, "What, Jerry? Are you crazy? Come on!" And I'll just probably ignore it because it's a one-time thing, right? Especially if I know the athlete. And almost all the coaches know all the upper level athletes, because many of us, we refereed them when they were kids, and so we know them pretty well. But I get upset when I see an athlete get out of control, and they can't control themselves. A slight outburst, as long as it doesn't cross the line, I ignore it. And as a referee, you have to have very thick skin, and you don't always hear everything, even if you do hear it. But what I do then is, if I think it's about to get out of control, I'll just have a sidebar with the athlete. I'll just walk up to him, walk up to him, says, "You need to calm down and go back to fencing," right? And that type of thing. And hoping that they get the message and they'll calm down and go back to fencing. Because when you lose control emotionally, you also lose control physically. And that's not good. That's not good for them. So I would answer the question in a way of when I see an athlete losing control, then I get concerned.
Yeah, it's complicated now because everything go down. And another thing about this is, yes, last year was my first year here. Last year, no, 2019. No, it's like 2020 not happened. 2019 when I was my first nationals here in the United States, and I saw some very interesting coach, not about technical, about behave in outside of the strip. And I think, oh my gosh, this guy will kill the student. No, it's too much. Or even complain with the referees. So, and about the coach too, in my opinion, I saw more patience from the referees here in the United States compared with the referees in the World Cups or around the world. You know, so what do you think? Why you think the coach, maybe the coach here is a little more stressed, but the Italian's worse, but it's okay. Then the coach here is more stressed, or the referee here is more, okay, I have a patience with you, I understand. What do you think about?
Yeah, I most of us who do, we're fencing refereeing at home. The parameters there are different, just like you said. When we go to World Cups, we know we have to make the change. Because again, you get a reputation. There are referees who have reputations of they're very fast with a black card, very fast.
For sure.
And internationally, you kind of keep that. Maybe not a black card, but a red card level. Sure. Yeah. So they're fairly much quicker with that, and there's less tolerance internationally, which I like, by the way. But in the United States, and part of it is that we are so controlled by our coaches. The coaches are the ones who especially in Sabre, they're the ones who have set that mood. Because let's say, and I've had it happen to me, I get assigned about this coach doesn't like me. And so he's in my face, and I just ignore him, don't say anything else. Then he crosses, and I give him the look. As a referee, you develop the look of like, okay, you're approaching you're about to get a free ticket out of here. And so he goes to the bout committee, and whoever was assigning the Sabre at the time, he goes to the bout committee. He complained, and he was a national level coach. I mean, he was one of the important guys, right? Uh-huh. And so the bout committee person comes out there, watches me, didn't see anything wrong. As a matter of fact, the other coaches are saying he's doing a great job. He's doing fine. So I had a close call. I made the call. He didn't like it. And it wasn't even his student.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because his student was dominating the pool anyways. So it wasn't, he just didn't want me refereeing. And so he said, look, you've got to get him out of here. You've got to get him out of here. And which you can't do, by the way. You can't pull a referee. You can talk to them. You can ask them to step down on their own or whatever. But nobody has the right to pull a referee unless there's blatant cheating going on. But so what happened was I finished the pool, got a handshake from everybody except from that coach, and took it up to the bout committee table, turn it in, and the assigning referee says, Jerry, I'm going to take you out of Sabre. I'm going to put you in. I don't even remember what it was. And it was because that one coach had the power to do that. Well, they're the ones who control, especially in Sabre. They're the ones who control how refereeing is being done and who gets to referee Sabre. It's a very, very small elite group of people. And especially in the DEs and stuff. Matter of fact, unlike internationally, can you imagine a group of coaches get together and talk to the assigner and saying, okay, these people should do the final 8, and we want this person to do the gold medal belt. And they do it. And I mean, that would never happen in a World Cup.
Yes, Marco Chesto in Sabre, Regis Trois in épée, and Rios and foils this finger.
Yeah, you don't have that much going on in stuff like that in foil, in an epi. But you are right. We're much more lenient with coaches. Now, some of us we all have our line, and I try to I normally think in teaching new referees that I say that many times you gave a black card because you lost control of the situation. In other words, you could have done some stuff, like I said, taken a sidebar, talk to him. Coach is behind me screaming at me. I'll just turn around and say, Coach, please, no more. Please, if you have something, I'll talk to you after the bout or after the pool or whatever it is. But I'll be more than happy to do that. But right now, but again, I give them a chance to not get a card. I don't throw the card and then, because it many times escalate the situation, not calm it down. Because the goal is as a referee, is I want two athletes out there performing their best without worrying about anything else other than their opponent and themselves. That's all.
Yeah, I always spoke with the kids. Be polite with the referees always, even you are sure he did something wrong. First of all, because he's a human being, he can do the mistakes. But if you will talk with the referee in the polite way, probably he'll think, oh, maybe I did a mistake. And in the next situation, maybe he will think better. But if you start for the referee, say, hey, are you crazy? This is not wrong. This is totally incorrect. Then the action don't was this way. Next doubt is against you for sure.
Well, no, I don't know. No, like I said, a good referee has pretty thick skin. They don't, you don't retaliate. Not like that, because the thing of it is that you're now punishing the athlete, maybe and not the coach. The coach is good in that thing, but so I do that, and I don't want to throw the coach out, and I'm not going to say, okay, you're going to holler at me, I'm going to give the next touch to somebody else. That's I don't know of most referees that I know of would just be appalled by that thought of adjusting a call because of some kind of emotional situation that's going on or whatever. So again, if you do that, you've lost control of the situation. If you go and say, okay, you're not getting the next touch or whatever, you've lost control of the situation. So I think that all referees that I know of, especially good ones that I know of, they understand that their job is to make that a equitable situation where all we do is apply the rules and that's it. And if you break one of the rules or you don't do the rule right or whatever it is, then the consequences are, here's the consequence. You don't get the touch because you didn't extend your arm. Now, asking a referee, back to what we were talking about finding out how the referee's going to call certain actions, how they see it. If you ask them, and they tell you, well, this is what I saw, right? Then oh, okay, they're going to call it that way. And then you make the adjustment.
Okay, do you have a question? Okay, you have a Kate here. Kate, have a question to you.
Hi. So I was wondering, what do you think would be the benefits for taking your referee certification as a fencer?
The reason that I got into refereeing to begin with, I've been a coach for 30 years. And I'm from Oklahoma, of all places, which is not a fencing mecca in and of itself. But in my region, I'm in the Southwest region. At that time, we had one national level coach in the region. There was no certified, national level referee in our region.
Okay.
And he didn't attend anything local or regional. He just did international and national. And so I'm at an event. I had this young lady in the international level, about to approach it. She was a teen then, but about to approach it. And we're at a competition. Her mother is standing next to me. And I say to Sophie, Sophie, don't do that again. The referee can't see it. Now, like I said, we've already talked. Sophie's already had instructions about what do you do if the referee is not calling it, right? But she was not young enough that time to see it. So I said, make the change. So she came back, and the mother looks at me and she says, and I said, look, the referee just could not see the action. She was doing the correct action. If she was at a national event or an international event, it would have been no problem at all. And the mother says to me, so why am I paying you all this money to teach my daughter
Oh my gosh.
to do something that referees are not going to see?
This is
And I
terrible.
thought, you know what? Good question. So I decided, okay, we need to have good referees. In order for my students to improve, we needed better referees in our region. And so we developed a regional, at that time we had sections, a sectional referee training program, brought in referees. This is way before any of this was done nationally. We had referee clinics and all that other stuff. We brought in some referees. They ran clinics for us. I pushed my athletes to take it. And we did. We improved, and therefore it did. It made a huge difference in my athletes because now they can fence the way they're supposed to because they have referees who can see it. It took a while. It took a while. As an athlete, why you should do that is for two reasons. If one of my fencers are fencing and I'm a coach and I'm coaching and I don't have my blue jacket on, so everybody knows what my role is, and the referee makes a mistake, okay, I have to be very, very careful because I need it to be an instructional moment for that referee and not a trying to influence him or her on their calls in favor of my athlete. So again, I got into refereeing to help my coaching. Also, it helped me because I now I'm going in and I'm refereeing and I'm learning how it is being called. Just like the prior conversation about, you got to know how things are being called now. And that helped me a whole lot. And remember, we didn't have any video back then. There was no place to go except to event. I require my athletes to at least pass the written exam, and then they also do most of the refereeing at the club. And the reason for that is for the exact same reason that I got into it. They find out what the other side feels like, how difficult it is to do, and they know the rules.
Okay.
And so, and as an athlete, you need to know the rules.
This is totally correct. Yes, I agree, 100%.
Yeah, and as a coach, you got to know the rules. Now, if you want to go ahead and take your exam after that, the advantage of that is that you start developing respect in the referee community, and that does mean a lot because you can. It's not an influence you have, but you do have an effect.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, you need to know the rules. This is basic. This is most important. So Isaiah, do you have some questions? You, Mel, have some questions?
I have a question.
Okay, go, Isaiah.
What is your favorite weapon to ref in?
I actually like all three of them. Because they're very different. The style, the emotion, they're very different. Epee is I like the sneaky and conniving and trapping and tricking and all that stuff that good epee does. They're out to trick each other and trap each other and set traps and so forth and so on. And it happens and because epee has a tendency to be slower, you can see it. And so I really like epee for that reason. And most epee is there's very low energy in an epee bout most of the time, very low energy compared to the others. Foil I like because I like the game of foil because it does also set some traps or anything else, but they're much tighter and smaller than epee is. The epees, they have more time they have to spend because they're farther away. Whereas foil, I like it when the speed's a little bit faster. There are more actions that you have to do. And you've got to be careful because you got to make sure as a referee, you're always paying attention because anything can happen at any moment. And it's been my experience that foil fencers have tendency to be a little bit more brainy, if you will. So many of them know some of the rules, and I don't have much of a problem with most of them. So I can say to them, that's because I spent years getting a reputation, and says, no, the rule is, or no, I'm seeing this. And so I don't tell them this is what happened. I'm saying, this is what I'm seeing. And many times they'll make the adjustment, and you can make that adjustment. Also, most of the actions in foil are fairly complicated. You'll probably see multiple blade actions in foil that you won't see in epee or in saber. So it's a fairly tight something you have to watch. I enjoy saber because of the energy. There's tons of energy in a saber bout. Now, if you'll watch saber referees, you'll see them stand there with their arms folded. Well, you can't do that anymore, but you'll see them. They act like they're very detached from what's going on because there is so much energy, and you don't want to get caught up in that energy. So I'm telling new referees is that you want energy going sideways, not you and the athlete. The two athletes should be expending all the energy against each other. There should be no energy going on between you and the athletes. So you'll see a lot of saber referees, they act like they're totally detached from it. But trust me, we're not. We're just trying to make sure that we don't add extraneous energy to the situation that does need to be added. And also, it happens so fast. I mean, you really got to be so focused, because to be a good referee is just like an athlete. When an athlete's in the zone, everything slows down. They can do no wrong. It's just obvious what needs to happen next. So you're in the zone. The only thing you're thinking about is that next touch. Well, it's the same way with a referee. To get into that zone is an unbelievable great feeling. And saber causes you to get into that zone fairly quickly and stay there for a time. Because coming off a pool of saber, I am more exhausted, and it maybe took me 30 minutes or actually probably 15, 20 minutes than it took me for like 30 or 45 minutes to do an epee bout or epee pool, because of the level of concentration you have to have. So I like all three. I do foil and epee because I don't like the people in saber, mostly the coaches and some of the athletes. But I do mostly foil and nationally in epee.
Yeah, I understand. Yes, you are totally correct. And you want to have some questions, Mel? Have some questions?
Coach,
Yeah,
can I
hi,
ask my
Jerry.
question before I have to get off?
Okay, go Dave.
I got to prepare for the PT. So I recently took my reffing course, and I took the tests and I got certified. But especially because of COVID, I haven't been able to ref at all at any competitions. So I'm just wondering, obviously nobody has a real answer for COVID, but what would you suggest a beginning ref to do to start getting tournaments and getting experience?
You've got resources that we didn't have back then. By the way, the last time I refereed was JOs. So it's been now exactly over a year before I've refereed anything. But I know that I need to kind of stay sharp with that. So what you do is you go online and you watch bouts, but you watch the referee, see what they're calling, how they're calling. You make the call and then see if that agreed with that the referee was good. Now, you want to try to probably at a beginning level, don't go to a World Cup because unless you can do slow motion where you can play it back to see what was happening, but try to find some local video of just that, and then try to watch the referee make the call, or you practice. Even maybe you're not going to see the referee, because the video is of the two athletes and the referee's not in there. You will get to see normally who got the touch. So if you can figure out why. So that's a great way of practicing refereeing. That's a resource you have that you can use right now. But all of us, and I'm doing it. I'm doing it trying to know that when we start doing national events again, or actually regional events, that I'm kind of prepared, because you lose a lot in a year.
Yeah.
So I would do that. Get you some. Now regional events are coming back, and I don't know if you have a regional event coming up soon, but I'd also try to volunteer to do that. If you're you should be wanting to do every bout you can in your club to referee. And you may even want to look at, I don't know how many days you go. How many days do you go to the club?
5 days.
Okay. I would take one of those days and focus on refereeing.
Okay.
And just try to get as many bouts in as you can, especially if you've got some of the better athletes, because then they can give you, says, look, I'm trying to learn to be a referee. If you have any feedback to me, let me know. And they'll be more than happy to do that. Now, maybe not during the bout, obviously, or whatever, but afterwards, ask for feedback. How did I get it right? What do you see as my strength? What do you see as my weakness? So forth and so on. So I would spend one of the 5 days, right? And I'd talk to your coach to find out what might be the best day for his or her schedule. But I would take one day and referee, because you're going to start coming into, matter of fact, I've got my first regional event that I'm doing at the end of March. So they're be coming back, but work at the club and watch video.
Okay. Thank you.
Good luck to you. Congratulations on passing.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
do you have another? Mel, it's your turn.
Yeah, hi, Jerry. Thanks for coming. I got two questions. Number one, as an epéist, how do I approach the whole referee thing? First, in terms of there being referees and referees going on. And second, while I'm fencing, while I'm drilling, how do I integrate the fact that we have referees in my training?
So what was the problem with the referee?
So it's not a problem. It's just, how do I, as an epéist, integrate the referee aspect of the sport into my game?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. And matter of fact, you remember I was talking to the young lady about why do you even do why would you take the test and why would you study to be a referee? The thing of it is that that the rule book, there are more rules. It's a thicker section in épée than foil and saber combined, and they're right away weapons. And the reason for that is because it's been easier to find ways of cheating. So most rules are written for one or two things. One, safety. A lot of rules are written just for safety reasons. Turning your back is a safety issue. Cora with Jocelyn, that's a safety issue, and so on. In épée, though, there are so many rules. If the plug comes unplugged in the back, there's like a half of a page, 2 paragraphs of what happens if that situation happens. Only in épée. How you integrate that is you got to know the rules, right? And you got to know how to talk to the referee. So, for example, a really good example is that the rule for passing has changed, right? What used to constitute a pass and a halt was called was the shoulders pass. Well, now the full body has to pass, where you see light in between the fencers, right? Full body. And that's when the halt happens. So let's say a new referee or whatever is a little quick on that, right? And you're not getting that remise in or whatever. And so you can say, if you know the rule, And you say, but sir, wasn't it, were we totally past? No, I think the rule is that we have to be totally past. There should be light in between us. And the referee's got two choices now. They can go, oh yeah, you're right. Right. Yep, that is the new rule. And then they award the touch. Or they don't award the touch, but now watch for it. So sometimes you have to train a referee, especially at the let's say a local or regional level competition, because you don't get all top level referees at those, and you get a lot of training with that. We use regional a lot to train referees. That's where a lot of them get a lot of training before we start sending them to national. So by knowing the rules, you can ask the right question, and then one or two things happens. Referee hears that, makes a different decision, seldomly done, but can. And two, they'll watch for it next. So I think that's how you integrate that, is that you have to know the rules, especially in epic, because there are so many different rules of when a touch is annulled, when it's not annulled, and what constitutes let's say jostling, as opposed to, because remember, there are several rules that in many situations, I can choose one of maybe 2 or 3 rules that are in the rule book to apply to that exact same situation. And so the one I choose is that affects the call. But I would strongly recommend you understand the rules, especially in epee, because there are so many of them, and you'll be able to ask the right question, because the key to and really good epeists do this. They know what question to ask.
Yes, I agree.
If you know what question to ask, you're going to have a much better chance of getting some kind of result. If you don't know the right question, so for example, no, sir, I hadn't passed yet. That doesn't get you anything. But if you ask the question, and actually there's a joke among referees, is that with epeists, if they're moving, they're cheating. If they're talking, they're lying. So because they're the group, especially vet epeists. They're notorious for setting traps on referees. It's just part of their game. That's just what they do. And if they find out that they can set traps for a referee by asking the right question, then they'll do it just for the fun of it. That help?
Very much so. Your last point is sad but true. I've seen that. And yeah.
Another reason I love to do vet. I love to do vet because the game's on.
Yeah, well, that's very important and very instructive. I didn't realize that that difference in how many rules and how and why that is. It really will adjust my approach. I've got the rules. I guess I'll have to start reading them.
Hands before you go.
Okay, I think it was nice. We have someone else do more questions. Anna, your turn. Go, Anna.
Once you learned how to referee, did it change how you fenced, or did you fence exactly the same?
Yes, it did, but mostly what it changed was how I coached. I had a very short athletic career. I didn't get started in this until I was almost 30 years old in the sport. And I am driven with something really I like and important to me. I get driven by it, and I just really want to put everything into it. And I realized fairly quickly that I was an epeist, and I realized fairly quickly that I was not going to be able to fence at the level I wanted to. I wanted to do international, and it just wasn't going to happen, unless I could figure out how to be an elite athlete in 1 year. So what happened was I said, well, if I can't do that, I'll look at coaching. And to tell you how much I get into things, I then went to the Soviet Union, which at that time was dominating fencing in the world, especially on the international stage. And I spent 3 months there training with the top Soviet coaches as a coach. Came back home and opened up a fencing club. So the same way with the fencing or my refereeing, is that I really got into it because, and it changed my fencing a little bit, but not much because I didn't really have much time with it. But it drastically changed the way I coached and what I coached and how I taught my students. So now, if you're a new fencer, I would definitely pay attention to the rules, because now you can start developing right away what you have to do. Now your coach already probably knows all that and knows so he's probably trying to teach you that. But you can expedite that and help your coach by learning the rules and seeing how things are being called. And so therefore, this is how you can say to yourself, because I want to know what the referees are calling, so I can start training to do it that way.
I'm getting ready to go.
Okay, this was good to you, Anna?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Jerry, unfortunately, we need to finish our conversation. It was a great pleasure. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention with our fencers. It was a great pleasure to our club. Okay, and Toby here to say hi to you.
Thank you so
Toby,
much.
good to see you.
It's good. It's good. I know you're there. Well, I sent everybody a picture of you, so they know what you look like. So hopefully, these people that you don't know will come up
and they still signed on. Wow.
Yeah. No. Well, I didn't know to put up the straight hair, or the curly hair, which one was appropriate. I really, really appreciate your being here. I think it's so important for people to have that refereeing perspective, whether or not they do any refereeing.
It's just friendly.
Yeah, it's really integral. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you
And
so
we hope
much.
to see you.
All right, guys, take care. Look forward to seeing you in the future.
Bye, Jerry.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, sir.
Bye.
Bye. Take care, guys. See you.